Hello guys, Typhon Alpha here, bringing you a video, and today we are going to be doing a tier list for KVK1 and KVK2 commanders, and how usable they are with SOC commanders for KVK3, KVK4 and beyond. This is a video mainly towards newer players, or players with fairly young counts in Rise of Kingdoms. And as you can see on this tier list, we have 5 tiers going from best to use to do not use, and this will all be ranked based on usability in the open field with other SOC commanders, and I'll be making some recommendations for different commanders that are available in SOC to pair with the commanders in this tier list. And so without further ado, let's get straight into the video. And to start with, we have Minamoto, and I would say he probably goes into the best to use category. He has very strong single target damage if you have him expertised. He also has very strong relics as well, which gives up to 60% of stats. And so if you're transitioning into KVK3 and beyond, Minamoto is one of the best commanders in the game. Even if you're using him at 5-5-1-1, you can still put him behind a Joan of Arc, for instance, and get pretty good trades in KVK3 and KVK4. Next up, I've got Mulan. I would definitely not use her in a PvP standpoint, but you could put into do not recommend because she can be decent as a buffing march for other marches that you might be using. Ragnar, I would put into okay. Richard, I would not recommend. He is usable, but mainly used for his healing and for barb chaining, so from a PvP standpoint I would probably put him do not use. Okay, Alex, best to use, very strong with Luce at the moment in the end game. He has very high march speed. He is really good in KVK2, so a lot of people invest into him, and I would continue to invest into Alex in the early game because he allows you to pair with Luce in KVK3 and beyond. Very strong, loads of stats, has strong relics as well, which gives 20% of defense, and I think 6% of normal damage reduction. Thutmose I would put into usable but not the best. He's one of the newer archer commanders in the early game, and a lot of people would put him probably in okay, but I think if you have him fairly high skilled and you have some of the relic buffs for him, which he has 3 relics right now, or level 3 relics I might say, and if you can get like level 2, level 3 relic for him, you could definitely use him with some other commanders like Herman Prime or Zhuge Liang and get pretty good trades in KVK3 and KVK4. Saladin, I would say usable but not the best, but I would put him probably towards the bottom of this category. Like, he's really strong in KVK2, but he does drop off a lot in KVK3 and beyond. A lot of his kit is based on hidden reduction, which you don't have a lot of that in KVK3, or it's not the meta right now. He has, if you have him expertised, he does have strong single target, which is good, and slows. But you would definitely rather use like a Minamoto to transition into the end game than a Saladin, in my opinion. Martel, I would say, probably in between these two. I think Martel, if you don't invest into Alex in the early game, Martel still allows you to transition with a Luce Martel into the end game and still do okay. It's not as strong as Alex in SOC, but it's still pretty good substitute for your Luce as a secondary. You do have 3 relics from Martel now, with I believe 50% attack and 10% health infantry, which is really good, and that attack buff on his 3rd relic is really strong, and it allows you to have a Luce Martel march that has quite a lot of counter attack damage, which gives you more survivability. Eddie, don't recommend. He's strong in KVK2, but he falls off in SOC, and he doesn't really have an SOC pairing that would work great for him. Frederick, I would put in do not use. I just don't think his kit is strong enough for any SOC commanders, in my opinion. Again, with Mulan, who I was talking about earlier, she's the best pairing is probably going to be for Trajan, but he is usable if you want to stick him behind. Maybe like a Richard or Martel. Richard tanking marches, and you're expecting it to not do a lot of damage, but it will buff the other marches. Hannibal Barker, do not use, even though got to pay loads of money for him. He's just not usable in the end game, even with his relics. Genghis Khan, do not recommend. I would say is above Eddie or Woodstock. I think he has good damage, but obviously he has that self-defense mechanic, which makes him really weak. El Cid, I would put him in don't recommend either. CJ, I would say is in okay, and I would say is above a Ragnar. And you could probably get away with using CJ with Luce as well, because of the all damage buffs. And also, Julius Caesar can actually work with the new epic range commanders. So you could potentially use like a Catherine with CJ for a ranged march, and quite a lot of his kit will work in that march. So I would say is okay. Outside of that, Constantine, if I was to put him in the open field, he would be like down here, don't recommend, do not use. But for canyon purposes, he's going to be like best of the best. So I'll put him in the okay category because it's like in between everything. But yeah, do not use him in the open field, but canyon is an absolute beast. YSG, best to use, works really great with Herman Prime, does huge skill damage. He has 12% skill damage increase on his relic and 20% archer defense, which is really good. You can pair him with Zhuge Liang or Herman Prime in the KVK3 and beyond, but I would personally recommend getting Herman Prime if you're going to use YSG. Also stipulating that YSG has to be expertised for this to be best to use. If he is not expertise, then he'll probably be in the okay category. And I would actually put it below Thutmose if it's not expertised. Mehmed, I would put in best to use also. I think these 3 commanders here are going to be, these 4 commanders are going to be your best transition commanders, in my opinion. Mehmed has a lot of usability, more so than these commanders, in my opinion, because he allows you to transition with pretty much any troop type into KVK 3 and 4, because he has the huge skill damage increase. He has the huge troop health on his relic. He has a bit of AoE, which if you have him expertise, the AoE is actually not terrible. But obviously you can budget march this commander at 5511 and stick him behind various commanders into KVK3. So if you wanted to be like an infantry player, for instance, in KVK3, but infantry don't come out until like King's Land time, and you've got all those fights earlier on, you can stick Mehmed behind like a budget Joan of Arc, for instance, in the Cav Wheel of Fortune, or you can stick him behind an archer later on if you don't have YSG but you want to get an archer march. You could use a Xu Liang with a Mehmed. Just take into consideration that particular march is quite slow but will have higher skill damage. And so if I was to rank these commanders for usability, I would actually put Mehmed probably number 1, ahead of Minamoto. But for their general like strength into the end game, I would say it's probably 4th choice out of these commanders. And I would actually put probably Alex first. Then I'd probably put YSG, then Mina, then Mehmed in that order. All the gathering commanders will obviously go and do not use. If I can drag this. Pyrrhus I would put in usable, not the best, and I would say is kind of in a similar boat to Martel. You can pair him pretty well with Luce, and obviously Luce is the main pairing for a lot of these infantry commanders. Like if you're using it in Canyon, you can use Luce with Constantine, and that's really strong. In the field, you can use Alex, Pyrrhus, and Martel for your Luce, and I would rank them in this order. So Pyrrhus would be a better choice than Martel. I think it just has more like normal damage synergy and has a bit more damage and nuke on him. And then lastly we got Tamiris, which I would say she's okay. I would say, yeah, probably like 2nd choice in okay. And you can use it with Herman Prime, even though there is some poison stack anti-synergy there, but it will still work pretty well. Or more importantly, you'd probably use like a Xu Liang with Tamiris, and that would work fairly well for your first few SOC KVKs. And then you got obviously Xu Liang as well. No, not Xu Liang. Whatever her name is, I never use her. Do not use as well. And this would probably be my tier list, and if I had to put them in ranking order, I would probably put them similar to this. So this would be like the guiding order for commanders. So this would be the 4 best commanders. You could probably get away with these 4 in the useful but not the best in KVK3 and maybe KVK4 because you're against similar aged kingdoms. But then into KVK5 and beyond, I definitely wouldn't use any of these commanders in these bottom 4 rows, and I'd only use the top 4 commanders for a few SOC KVKs until you can pick up those better end game commanders. And for any of you that's got to the end of this video, I would like to release a giveaway. So in the comment section below, can you make a comment on this video if you agree with what I've said so far, any recommendations for new videos and all that stuff, and then I'll be giving away some FLUX Scripts to 2 players in the comments section below at random, and I will drop that in the comments on the 20th of December. Those will be $5 scripts that will go to 2 lucky winners. So please like and subscribe to the channel, please comment on this video below, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.